Welcome to another episode of On Brand for Muse by Clio. I'm Nicole Purcell, the president of the Clio Awards. Next to me, I have Mr. Tim Nudd, our editor-in-chief of Muse. How you doing, Tim?
Doing pretty well, Nicole. How are you?
Very good. Cheers to a lovely afternoon, hot afternoon.
It is warm today. Cheers.
It's warm, but we need something. Tell me who we are talking to today. Give me a little background.
Yeah, we're very pleased today to welcome Shannon Watkins. She's the SVP of Brand and Creative Services at Aflac. Of course, we've all seen the ads with the duck, and we're very curious to hear how Aflac's been changing up their strategy a little bit over the last year or two, and of course, what they've been doing during COVID as well. So thrilled to welcome Shannon Watkins.
Hello, how are you guys?
We are good. How are you doing, Shannon?
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, I see that you're in the office today,
Very unusual.
Yes. How is working from home, and where are you? Who are you living with, and how is it working with your team, and so on?
But we are blessed and truly fortunate to be working at home during these times. I'm in the office today because I have bad internet, so didn't want to chance it. But I have been hunkering down with my husband and my daughter, who's 8 years old. She's full of energy, so that has been quite the challenge with no summer camps and homeschooling. So I've been all in on all fronts, but very, very, very fortunate for this time. She learned how to ride her bike during COVID.
Oh, great.
S'mores. So it's a good time.
A time that we would probably never have and might not ever have again after hopefully everything clears up. So that is a blessing. That's amazing that you're able to do that. During this time, how have you, Aflac, as a company, pivoted from a company-wise, working with your team and stuff like that, but also marketing-wise?
Yeah,
we had to change.
Yeah, we've had a pretty major pivot. From the start, we went about 99% remote. From the start of the pandemic, we have a company have announced that we're not coming back in 2020.
Wow.
So on the good side, you know and can plan for what is to come. On the bad side, everyone is absolutely itching to get back to normal. And especially in a creative space, we're used to people. We're used to feeding off of people and the energy in the office. And we've quite honestly had to just recreate that remotely using Zoom, using Blue Jeans, Slack. So that has been a challenge, but my team has been able to pivot pretty seamlessly. I've been challenged, however, just because I'm used to that connective tissue and that water cooler conversation. So I miss them dearly and miss being around people.
I agree with that really quick. I mean, just being face to face and being around, I feel like you're brainstorming more, you're thinking more. So it's very hard. So it's good sometimes to hear it from other people going through the same thing.
Absolutely. And even as a team leader, how do you keep people motivated in this environment? You don't have team lunches anymore. So do you do lunch and learns and send people Uber gift cards or boxes of snacks? And you really have to tap into folks' love language, for lack of a better word, to keep them energized and creatively on point. So it's absolutely been a challenge.
And how has that changed with you feel also your marketing? So working with your team is one thing, and then some of the creative that you're starting to put out, has that changed a lot too?
It's changed a lot, to be honest with you. No one could have predicted COVID-19. No one could have predicted the change in just consumer sentiment, because if you think about the insurance category as a whole, we use a lot of humor. We use a lot of tongue in cheek. And overnight, the sentiment changed where you didn't see a lot of ads with humor. You didn't see a lot of ads with people congregating together. And the tone was a lot more solemn. And so my team was able to really quickly start to pivot. We're used to showing our great feathered friend, the Aflac duck, front and center, using humor and using comedy. But overnight, we had to change our approach. And thank God our board and our CEO and our president were aligned with that approach. And we shifted our strategy really at the beginning of this COVID season with a body of work called Not Alone. We wanted to show people that especially during this time, they're not alone. And as they face a healthcare crisis, they're especially not alone. Aflac is there. And if you think about the role that the duck has traditionally played, Aflac duck has been front and center, or with a counterpart or a friend been front and center, trying to explain the benefits of the company. And, the recent TV spot Gratitude really had the duck signing off as a true helpmate at the end of the spot. And we let the people and the sentiment of the times really lead the work.
Yeah, let's check out that Gratitude spot. I think we have that queued up and ready to go.
It started with a few smaller bills.
Well, then they started getting bigger. I saved for this.
But not that much.
That's why Aflac is here, to help with the expenses health insurance doesn't cover.
I love that Aflac duck.
Aflac! Get to know us at aflac.com.
A different tone. Sorry, yeah.
It is a different tone, but it still retains some of, the old brand personality. Can you talk a little bit more about the balance, because the duck is sort of just humorous in general, right?
Mm-hmm. The duck has absolutely been humorous. If you think about our TV spot starting, I want to say, we launched the Aflac Duck 20 years ago. So it's a blessing to have an icon that's been around for this long and still relevant, right? Mm-hmm. And so about 2 years ago, we started to look at our trends, broadly speaking, found that we have extremely high awareness. But when you ask people, what is it that Aflac really does? We got answers from car insurance to motorcycle insurance to duck insurance. There were answers all over the place. And so starting in 2019, we pivoted our strategy and said, we want to make sure we maintain awareness, but we have to start focusing on building knowledge about what it is that we do at our core in order to pull people down that conversion funnel. At that time, we also changed the role of the duck. The role of the duck prior to was kind of the center of the action. And we found that the role that he played was really getting in the way of people understanding what we were. They were looking for, what is the duck going to do next versus hearing the message, even though the message has been the same. So his role pivoted to that of helpmate. They would be there to help policyholders and potential policyholders through these unexpected medical expenses.
Yeah, so the duck was maybe almost too successful.
The name Aflac and the Aflac duck were synonymous, and people didn't really understand what it is that we did, why we got up and came to work every day. So we needed to almost take a step backwards in our messaging in order to take a step forward.
Yeah, that's interesting. We also have a spot to show called Aflac Isn't, which was the theme of your campaign last year. Yes. And we'll talk about it in a minute, but definitely an interesting spot too.
People know Aflac, but not what they do. So we're answering their questions.
Aflac is auto insurance, right?
No.
Is it homeowners insurance?
No.
Is it duck insurance?
Nope.
Do they pay me money directly when I get sick or injured?
Yeah! Aflac! You got it! You know Aflac.
Boom!
Get help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. Get to know us at aflac.com.
I'm not sure if duck insurance is really a thing or not.
You don't live on a farm, Tim. You don't know.
But I love this approach. I mean, it's interesting to sort of come right out and say in a TV commercial that, a lot of folks don't know what you do. Was there any, hesitation about doing that, or you guys felt like that was the way to go?
It's always hesitation when you're doing something that different. Especially because, Dan Amos is our CEO. He's been CEO for the last 30 years. He and his wife, Kathleen Amos, were the originators of the Aflac Duck. So, when we first started this assignment, we got literally in the lab with consumers and got a lot of feedback and insights from consumers. But I think the thing that was most helpful with the organization was showing people in the back room of qualitative and those clips to help people see that even though we had been saying the same message over the last 20 years, people just weren't getting it. And so once they saw some of those clips in the back of the research room with qualitative research, they got it. And I think the doors open for us to try a different approach.
Let's see. And how's that approach been going for you? Can you tell us any sort of metrics from the past year?
Absolutely. So pre-COVID, so I'll qualify everything as pre-COVID, we were absolutely holding our awareness, but the knowledge metrics were continuing to go up and the connection metrics were continuing to go up. We look at everything down a funnel: awareness, knowledge, connection. we believe our job at Aflac in the marketing department especially is to warm the door handles of the organization. So anything that we can do to pull people down that funnel, that's what we're maniacally focused on. And so pre-COVID, it was absolutely starting to turn.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool. Something that I thought was interesting you did this past holiday was partner with iHeart Radio Jingle Ball, which is so interesting, but then also did a tour with some of the musicians to pediatric cancer hospitals. Can you tell me why iHeart and that one, what made you think of taking the artist on tour? Like, I just found it fascinating. So I definitely want to know more about it.
Absolutely. So when you think about, holiday season, people think about togetherness and family. And Jingle Ball for us is one of those sponsorships that hit bullseye strategically for us. And a lot of people are like, okay, Jingle Ball and Aflac, what's the connection? And for us, we know that there is a connection between wellness and music, number one. And so we're all about the intersection of health and wellness in the product and being able to show up in places and spaces that are unexpected, but it was a connection for us. The second thing about Jingle Ball is it's filled with tweens and teens who are there to see their favorite talent. But we also know that it's a lot of moms and dads there who may not want to be there. They're a captive audience to hear and learn something new. So that's who we were targeting by going to, attending, and sponsoring these Jingle Ball activities. As we thought about the content that we're going to show at Jingle Ball, we started thinking about being there for consumers when they need us most. And that's our brand ethos. And in the context of Jingle Ball, there are a lot of consumers, especially sick kids, during the holidays that would never get to experience something like Jingle Ball. We've been a partner with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta for 25 years in the Cancer and Blood Disorder Center. And we said, you know what, let's take Jingle Ball to them. So we partner with Musicians on Call and iHeart Radio to take a couple of the talent that were also part of Jingle Ball to the hospitals in Atlanta. And we also went to Children's National in DC. Why don't we in Atlanta, Dan and Shay to the DC, to the DC site. And that was really the intersection for us, especially during the holiday season. We want to make sure we're not only doing good for our policyholders, but also doing good for those who really need it the most during the times that they need it the most. And for us, it was kids battling cancer during the holiday season.
I love that. I think that's so amazing that you did that. You got to do something good and also do something with your brand out to the parents. So congratulations. I love that idea. And now I understand it. So that's great. Just like us Clios, we've went into the music side of the world with Clio Music and then also to the sports side with Clio Sports. And I see that Aflac does that as well with partnering with the Southeastern Conference and also the ads with Nick Saban. And I think we do have an ad also to show really quickly, and then we can talk about that, what you're doing in sports.
We think you would really shine in the Aflac program.
Aflac! Coach Saban, we have health insurance.
Did health insurance pay for everything?
No. We still have bills.
Aflac gives you money directly to help with those.
Aflac?
And your deductibles, knee brace, whatever you choose.
Aflac sounds like a winner.
We try.
Get help with expenses health insurance doesn't cover. Get to know us at Aflac.com.
I love showing the rings. That's just so great. I laugh every time I see that. But why is Aflac drawn to the sports world? What are you guys doing there?
I'll go backwards and tell a little bit of history, and then I'll bring us to present day. And so Dan Amos, who I mentioned, who's our CEO, in 2000, as he launched the Aflac Duck, he also pivoted the company name from American Family Life Assurance Company and shortened it to Aflac. And his vision was, we have to, if we can just get brand recognition out there and people understanding how to pronounce the name, we will have a chance. And so at that point in time, he partnered with, I think it was CBS, to sponsor their trivia in football, because he thought people are sitting there, their captive audience, watching a football game. And if the trivia keeps popping up, every time the announcer will say Aflac, so people in their living room will become more comfortable saying Aflac. And that's how we started this heritage in sports. We've been anchored in sports as a brand for quite some time, and football has been core to our DNA. And so as we thought about 2019, for us, it was, what can we do differently to break through the clutter? Sports is extremely cluttered. I've worked in sports a lot in my career, back at Coke, on Coke Zero, and then on Powerade. And it's very difficult to break through. But we tried to think about if we're driving education about our brand, what role can a sports person and our Aflac Duck play in the context of the creative? And it was actually recruiting new policyholders. And as we thought about the best recruiter in college sports, and probably sports period, it's Nick Saban. And so the natural tie, as we began a partnership with the SEC, we began a new partnership with Melt, our agency of record for activation, that Nick Saban really was the perfect choice for us to launch not only a new campaign, but also a partnership with SEC.
I know there's a big question mark over sports, obviously, for this fall. Are you guys sort of going to wait and see what happens?
We are doing our best to be patient. Everybody else, our agency for media is Spark. And so they're keeping us, as well as Mel, as updated as possible with all of the changes that are going on. We're placing our bets a couple of places. We're hopeful that NFL comes back. We're watching to see what happens with college football, because at the end of the day, I think all of us want to get back to sport. If you think about the tone and tenor of what's going on in the country right now, it's divided. It's a lot going on between the social injustice fight for fairness, COVID-19 and people's concerns. And sports, if you think about it, is always been in our society that great equalizer, because it's the one moment in time that it doesn't matter what you look like or who you are, you can come together for fandom and for one cause and feel this real sense of community. And so I think everybody across the country, if you're a sports fan or not, you're ready for some new programming. You're ready to come back to that normal again.
Yeah, Shannon, I'm wondering what Aflac has done in terms of racial equality. I know I saw some content that you guys put out. Could you talk about that mission within the brand?
Absolutely. So one of our founders, our principal founders, John Amos, the fight for fairness and social justice has always been a core part of his DNA. And so when you think about what that means for Aflac, it's multifaceted. It is not about having diverse representation in TV commercials, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But it's about fighting for fair laws and legislation. And so we've supported the Congressional Black Caucus and NAACP back until I think the 1960s and 70s. So we've been a part of that journey for quite some time. Our another part of that fighting for economic empowerment and social justice is really showing up and supporting the communities that you serve and making sure that you're creating a platform of wealth for Black and Brown communities. So we do that through our agency force and our brokers, really empowering small business ownership. Our supplier diversity issues have started, I want to say, back in 2000. So we've been doing that for 20 years. And we also support education as one of those foundational building blocks to social justice in the communities that we serve. And so those are kind of our pillars. Additionally, Aflac has been a big proponent of having diverse representation from board members on down throughout its 65-year history. We had an African-American board member, as early as 1990. And if you think about the representation of this company, from our president, Teresa White, she's African-American female, Chief General Counsel at Aflac Inc., Audrey Tillman, African-American female, Chief Operations Officer, Virgil Miller, African-American male. We have an extreme amount of diversity, not only African-American, people of color, female. So we are really in a fortunate spot, because I think our founding fathers understood at its core, diversity is good for business. Simply put, is good for business.
Yeah, 100%. I also wanted to ask you about your agency work. I know you work with some agencies. I know you do a lot of creative work in-house. Could you tell us kind of how big your in-house team is and what you guys take the lead on, and then what you have your agencies handle for you?
Absolutely. So all day I'm wearing two hats. So on one side of my hat, I am responsible for driving the brand vision and mission. And we partner with all of our external teams and agencies. So we have a small but mighty core brand team. We work with Spark from a media perspective, Dagger, Melt, and I know I'm going to forget someone in the middle, so I'll probably come back to it. But we have a host of CAA from a talent perspective. So we have a host of agencies that we partner with on what I call the business to consumer side of the house. The other side of the day, I have my in-house agency hat on. So I am working really, really hard with all of our internal constituents to make sure we're shepherding the brand, but also delivering the B2B marketing materials for the company. Everything from videos and events to flyers and brochures to collateral pieces on down to boxes and merchandise. So the job is extremely broad. The way we like to think about it is we have one overarching vision, one overarching marketing challenge. And Dagger likes to put it as we're well known, but not known well. Again, we're well known, but not known well. And so we use that as the anchor, but all B2B and B2C efforts kind of fold under that anchor. And on the studio side, we try to bring that to life with our B2B audiences specifically.
I see. Okay. And you mentioned humor. I know that's been a long time kind of strategy for you guys, and many of the other brands within the insurance space have humor at their core. Do you feel like that's something that's going to come back soon, and that you guys are going to embrace again? And how important is creativity in general to your market?
As I think about humor, I think all of us are yearning to get back to fun. I think, and that's the best way I can put it. We're all yearning for when the mask can come off, for lack of a better word, and we can go back to having fun again. And so I do think that will come back eventually. But until then, I think it's a more heightened awareness for truly being people-centered at its core. So if you are truly keeping a pulse of what people feel and what they need, I think that is going to be the focus of creative, at least in the near term, until we get back to a normal when the mask can come off.
God, I hope the mask can come off soon. So I totally agree with that. And talking about creativity, obviously Atlanta is starting, or in the last few years, becoming a big creative hub. And your past history at Coca-Cola, like you just mentioned, and some other great brands, being in Atlanta, what have you seen and what have you learned even coming from these different companies to Aflac? I mean, Atlanta is Hotlanta, as I call it, as many do.
When I think about creativity and Atlanta being a hotbed, I like to go back to, I'm born and raised in Atlanta. And so I knew the Atlanta pre-1996 Olympics and post. And the city has definitely changed in that time. But I like to think of Atlanta as a place to build culture, not just creative, because it is definitely a place where you walk the streets of Atlanta and it just, culture is being created every single day. And we're lucky and blessed to be a stone's throw away from Atlanta. I think creativity is extremely important when you think about your agency partnerships and the work that you do. And because of that, we took the opportunity to even move our lead creative shop to an Atlanta-based shop, which is Dagger. It is a smaller shop, but when you think about what they offer us, they can tap into culture in a unique way. And I believe that is the only way that you can truly break through and break out. The other part of creativity, I think, is really making sure that you have diverse representation at every single layer of your agency partnerships and of your brand teams. And so I now really look for that. And all of not only the partners we have, the agencies we pay, the directors we put behind the camera, onto the brand team that we staff, because if you don't have representation of what real America looks like, feels like, and can have that stickiness, I believe that your creativity will be very short-lived.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. Shannon, I'm wondering, it's very hard to predict anything at the moment, but looking to the next sort of 6 to 12 months at Aflac, can you talk a little bit about what your strategy and creative might look like over the next year?
Absolutely. So when I think about, what we plan to do moving forward, number one is listen and learn. We are listening every day to consumers. We have ongoing qualitative and quantitative panels because the landscape is shifting so very much that if you don't have that constant pulse with consumers, you will be behind. So that's number one. Number two, we're trying to remain as flexible as humanly possible. The media landscape has changed so very much that if you blink, you may miss something. And so we're trying to maintain extreme flexibility with our media partners, with our network buys, with our upfront planning. We're going to keep a sense of extreme flexibility with our partners. And then number three, this landscape is unprecedented. No one's ever seen this before. So all of the historical models that we have had thrown out the window. And so we're doing everything that we can to keep the organization and our executive leaders caught up as well. Because if they understand the pace and change in this landscape, I think they'll have a little bit more flexibility with the results. Because again, all predictive modeling is out of the window, and we're just trying to do the best that we can to keep pace with the changes that are happening in the environment.
Yeah, it's a challenging time for all marketers, I think, in that sense. But Shannon, it's great to hear how you're evolving the brand, and good luck over the next 6 months.
Congratulations. Yeah, I think it's amazing. You have a beautiful light coming out of you. And when you run for office, because I feel like that's coming, I'm behind you 100%.
Thank you. Thank you. We have an army of very, very, very talented brand members, and we have an army of very, very talented agency partners. And so I owe a debt of the organization owes a debt of gratitude to them as well, for all of the hard work and extreme flexibility that they're operating in now, and the creativity that they're bringing to the table in these times. Production is completely different. Media is completely different. So they're doing their best to keep us ahead of the curve. And so I just want to say thank you to those guys as well.
Amazing. Thank you again. Have a great rest of the week, and hopefully we can catch up with cocktails again soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, Shannon.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Bye,
Have a good
Shannon.
day.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Wow.
I mean, that was so interesting. She is running for office one day, mark my words. Cheers, Tim.
All right, Nicole.
So great to see you.
Cheers. Good to see you. And thank you guys for watching. For the latest creativity news every day, check out Muse by Clio. And we're back every Thursday with new episodes of On Brand. So thanks for watching. Have a good weekend.